minutes. Call a meeting to order Monday, May 13, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. The boardroom of at the Weston Municipal Center, 4747 Yaplet Road. First item, the second is welcome and introduction and acknowledge our guests. Do not have any.
Nobody online.
Nobody is in line. Okay, roll call, please.
Sagami,
Here.
Hardinger,
Present.
Hubbard,
Here.
Lopes Serrero,
Here.
Lumber.
Here. Okay, one thing I'd like to do today is when we get to the item about somebody make a motion and somebody second it, then we're gonna discuss it. Right now, the way we're doing it, we discuss the item, then we vote on it, or then we make a motion, which is not correct way to do it, so we're gonna correct that, my mistake. All right. Public comment. Nobody public, anybody online, nobody online. That's, so far, Josh is going good for you. Item 5, approval of 4/8/24 public work and utility committee meeting.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it. Thank you. Item 6, approve of 4/30/24 special assessment hearing minutes.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 7, approve of March 2024 water and sewer permit.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Staff report item 8, CIP update. Michael.
All right. At the end of April, right, we're in May. We had quite a few projects out for bid. The Weston Avenue X to J project was awarded to Integrity Grading as the low bidder. They indicate starting work after the 4th of July. Those of you who are at the special assessment meeting will need to be going through a redesign of the project to remove the multi-use path. It's mainly due to not being able to utilize eminent domain to purchase the road right away for the path. So we got a couple landowners on the north side who are unwilling to sign or negotiate right of way purchase. So that'll have to be redesigned a little bit. We can make the road wider to better accommodate bicycles on the shoulder of the road, but we can't force the purchase of any land for a separate dedicated path. So I guess just the board officially approved the design with the path. So I guess I feel like I need them to officially approve removing the path from the design, but AECOM has already kind of started looking at what needs to be done to modify the plans to make that work. The south half of the road can more or less stay as is. The path was on the north side, so mainly just modifying the north sides to minimize right-of-way impacts for those property owners.
Did they give us a cost for that redesign or?
Not yet. They kind of did a preliminary, just I chopped the road here, what does that look like? Which in some spots it is probably going to reduce the right-of-way needs by about 25 feet. Because the road, it went road, a little ditch, the 10-foot path, and then the backside ditch, so we can just go road, ditch now, which will eliminate some of that ditch path, ditch need there, so.
Should give us a cost,
Yeah, I will.
because then we won't be able to approve it as a committee, but you can bring it to the board for.
Yeah, I didn't have that yet. They kind of, they're working on getting something put together. So,
Is that just for those two parcels, or is that gonna be a total design on that whole stretch then?
the parcels in question own about a mile of frontage.
So the majority of.
So I think instead of trying to put a path in, no path,
Right,
you know, we'd still start the path at X and go, I think it's about 1/8 of a mile to kind of the top of the hill there, and then from there it would be on pavement, and then as future development occurs, hopefully we get back to having that accommodation.
Is there some way we can tie it back in with the existing path at?
So what at Ryan or, yeah,
Still part of it doesn't have it, that 1/8 of the mile.
yeah, I mean, so it ends up being 1 point, I think that stretch is what, 2 miles, 1.75 miles, so I mean, essentially 1.5 miles won't have the path.
Wider shoulder.
A wider shoulder, no path. So that's that one. Weston Ave, Alderson to Birch, if you haven't driven past there, WPS is doing a lot of gas main relocation right at the Weston Alderson intersection. That project has a bid opening this Wednesday morning, and we'll be ready to get moving on that as soon as school lets out with the successful bidder. East Jelnik and Von Kennel was awarded to Francis Melvin. We had that special assessment meeting at the end of June, or end of April, sorry. They'll be getting started here in June, getting through contract documents, getting those items shared and signed. Same thing with the regular Jelnik between junior high and senior high. Haas has that project, and we'll be starting as soon as the school lets out at the end of, or at the beginning of June.
So what is that Mass Tech doing in there? He's on Ross Avenue this morning. I think he was at the intersection of Alderson and Ross.
Frontier is adding some new communication lines in that area. So I'm guessing they're working for Frontier. Nothing related to any project we have.
Well, the whole from CDS still is on the road, and they're a whole, they're not. They didn't do a good job.
Okay,
This guy put up to a good job and not to leave a trace behind. I think TDS should come back and fix those.
sure, we
At
can
least,
have Will follow up with them.
if you don't tell them, they don't do it.
Yep, no, I know we've followed up with the guys over on Corzala. I believe they got most of that taken care of late last week. So, Will Harrison handles our excavation permits and follow up with those contractors, so. Make sure Will's going back and getting those, especially now that spring is here. I know sometimes if they do work in late fall, they don't get to it right away in the winter once the snow starts falling, but we can make sure they come back and get those taken care of. See, got a meeting on Thursday here with Becker Hoppy and the city of Schofield to kind of go over some of the preliminary layouts for the Ross Ave project between Metro and Alderson Street. And at the same time, after that, we'll be talking about the Fuller Street project. Let the city of Schofield rep leave and go over Fuller Street with Becker Hoppy. Met with SEH and the county last week to go over some of the preliminary roundabout design. Right out here, I think we still have a little bit of adjustments to make. Try to fit it in better, but besides that, they're also looking at extending work down towards Sternberg and trying to incorporate some of the safe routes to school aspects that the school district had, I guess, kind of called out as improving walking abilities to Weston Elementary there.
So Short Elliott doing this roundabout here.
Correct. Yeah. See, Schofield Ave and Mesker, that project was awarded to Chippewa Concrete, so they started the same thing, getting contract documents and getting the traffic signals ordered for that intersection. Then Ross, have ever been to Paul's getting that survey work out there? I believe there's a meeting later this week, and meeting with the utility companies out there to make sure we get everything located there and get that design running in full steam. Then Schofield Ave, Normandy to kind of through TIF 2 there. We have Clark Dietz working on that. We received a local road improvement grant, about a little over 2.65 million for that project to partner with our TIF funding. So should be able to get through that project without having to borrow for anything. Is nice. And we'll be, I think that's next week. We have a design meeting with Clark Dietz, kind of going over where we're at there. The scope of the project and making sure that we're all on the same page, and their sub consultant who's taking care of some of the traffic counts and everything is in line too with what we'll be looking at for replacing of the signals. Because they'll replace the Alderson, the Target, and the Birch intersections.
And then those crossing,
Yep, so then it will update the Fox Street crossing that's currently there, but kind of hidden by the trees. And then add one either at Pine Street or Pine Park, kind of.
there's one also by that Habitat for Humanity,
Yeah, so that's Pine Street.
that's a pines, but there is a crossing there.
Yeah, but we'd look at adding the kind of rapid flashing beacon, something a little more prominent, so when people are trying to walk up in that area, it's not playing Frogger.
Okay, so we've got what, 2 crossing?
So yeah, besides the signalized intersections, at least adding 2 more. We could possibly look at adding a 3rd one in there too, if we think it's necessary.
I think, yeah, as the sidewalk is going, you can see where the people have to cross really.
Yeah.
Maybe by post office, possibly, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that's up by Normandy, so I mean Pine Street's first intersection, or Pine Park is the first intersection, and then Pine Street's the next one as you head east from Normandy, so. We could maybe split it at Pine Park, and if you get too close to the Business 51 intersection, we might start running into issues where people are turning right off of Business 51 onto Schofield Ave and maybe not paying attention to something right at Normandy too, so.
They should, that's not our road anyway, so that's not our intersection. I think that's a DOT, they should take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then MSA did complete the traffic counts at the end of April there for the County Road X corridor, as well as the Alderson and Jelnik intersection. I don't have the data results yet, but should be getting those possibly this week or early next week. So
That's for Jelnik and Alderson.
Jelnik and Alderson, then they also did the X corridor, so Schofield Ave and X, like Barbican, East Everest and X, and Weston Avenue and County Road X.
So are they gonna do the design too, or they just?
So right now, the county wanted to get updated counts. We had this done in 2017, when the Camp Phillips Center was being discussed, so we wanted to update the counts. The county wanted to update the counts to make sure, to see if there is growth from where we were at or where they are, because they see that as kind of probably a 5-year corridor study, and if there is an immediate need for something different, to look at that. But they wanted the counts first before they would entertain a design contract with anyone.
What else? Is that it?
Our PFAS treatment was awarded to August Winter, so that's anticipated to start later this summer. And then well 3, the pilot study for iron and manganese removal will happen in July, or kind of once we take the well 4 well offline, so for the treatment facility, so somewhere as soon as well 4 is ready to be upgraded, we'll take that offline. We can do the well 3 treatment study, since we'll use the clear well at the treatment plant for that, and then get going on the well 3 final grant application or loan application through the Safe Drinking Water program and get that that project ready for bidding for next year, so. Pretty soon we'll have everything over there taken care of.
Who's the contractor on wells 7 and 8, Michael?
So that's Ellis. Ellis Construction is the general. Yeah, we are able to pump water to the system, but it's not quite working as it should be as a fully automated system. So the emergency power, the transfer of normal power to generator power was supposed to be taken care of last week Friday. That has not happened yet, so they have been notified of liquidated damages and every day is $1,000 back to the village of Weston, so.
And they just are aware of it and
Yeah. You know, they're very eager to have us sign off on documents, but I said, we can't sign anything until you show us that everything's working the way it's supposed to be working, so.
Who's going to fix that? Is that the electrical people or the pump people?
Ellis's problem. Yeah, and that's part of the
You're gonna
issue.
bring to the project, that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is the subs are saying that's somebody else's problem, and I guess I'm saying I don't care who.
How much money we got?
As of today, we're right around 30,000.
how much retainage? Just ballpark.
We're what, 5% on the whole project, so. We haven't made final payment yet either, so,
I wouldn't do that either.
yeah, no, we've got, I believe, a couple 100,000 left to.
Plenty of leverage.
Yeah, there's plenty of money out there, yeah.
If the cost of fixing that is less than 30,000, I wouldn't show up.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
I
Sometimes
want
people
30,000.
walk.
Yeah. No, final payment hasn't been made yet. Project wasn't, we don't make final payment until we deem a project substantially complete, so.
Good.
They haven't been able to produce everything working the way it's supposed to, so.
Is it, so right now, is Ellis in agreement with you and it's a subs?
I haven't had
Or
any,
You're not sure?
talking to the project manager, he's just like, yep, we're working on getting everybody here and getting this working for you. So
Yep.
nobody's objected,
Very helpful.
so.
How much we pay for that pavilion?
I can, if you give me like 2 minutes, I can quickly look it up.
245? I'm guessing. I can't remember the number.
The picnic shelter itself was a $48,000 add-on. I think I'd have to dig back through.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think the bathrooms were part of the original design, but then
Right.
the canopy was the extra, so. The 48,000 was the canopy, the extra concrete work.
48,000 is not like a lot of money for that. I think it was, I remember 245 sometime.
That might have been the total with bathrooms initially estimated, but
Take a look at it sometime.
sure.
Thanks. Item 9, any question for Michael?
My only other one is, what's the drop dead date to get that well fixed? Are you gonna need that in order to take down 3 or 4 later this summer? I mean, that starts July, right? So we're middle of May.
Yeah.
middle of June.
Like I said, we are able to operate them in a hand mode,
And
and
if you
monitor
delay
them.
if they don't do it in 6 weeks, it's gonna mess up the other well construction projects, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Did you write it to them or just a verbal?
It's been sent to them.
Oh, writing.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, honestly, I think our guys could probably get in there and get it going if we had to, but I told them we need to stop because they're calling our operators for questions. It's like, listen, they need to do their stuff. They need to put it together as it's designed. Where we have other stuff we gotta handle. We can get it pumping for our flushing operations, but I mean, they gotta do what they were paid to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was the main thing. We got it so we could use it during the day while we're flushing the system, so we have adequate capacity.
Yeah.
But,
So in 6 weeks, it's gonna really get to be a
Yeah.
problem.
yeah, but, so. It's,
Okay, anything else, Michael? Good news.
good news, so I don't know if I told this committee or not, but we did hire Isaac Dolan, from Clark Dietz as a staff engineer, so Ike will be starting, in June, first week of June or the last day of May. One of the two, but, he, designed the Jelnik project, the East Jelnik Von Kennel, Crestwood Acres when he was with AECom, Northwestern Avenue project. So he's got some experience working in the village here, so. Excited to have him on board and, start working on a few more of these,
Do
projects.
you have enough equipment for him to do the job here?
Yeah, Nate, I mean, we'll still have to hire out surveying and some of that
Yeah.
stuff, but as far as,
Do you have AutoCAD program and computer and,
we had to buy a computer,
okay,
so.
do I have to buy the AutoCAD too, or you
We
just?
had I have a CAD license that I will pass on to him that he can have. I don't use it enough. I know it enough to be dangerous, but not, super effective.
Good.
Is it gonna cause you a problem if you have to view something while working on something?
No, I generally ask for PDFs anyways.
Okay. Question for Michael? All right, thank you, Michael. Item 9 is street operation update.
Yep, spring is here. We got some crack sealing done in the end of April, beginning of May on our own, crack filling on some of the streets. You got some pictures there. Kind of wrapped that up. Got the spring yard waste pickup done. There's a typo in the report. It wasn't 1,200.5 man hours to pick up the leaves and grass. I apologize. It was 120. But I threw some numbers together just so you can see about what it cost us. That's with the 2 vac trucks. They were up and running good. And yeah, 600 cubic yards of leaves and grass we picked up and about 672 cubic yards of brush. So that went really good. Not a lot of people calling to have us come back and pick things up. That's always a issue that they can't make it out on time or whatever, but everything went pretty well. So what we're trying to do now is just catch up with some of the patching. The hot mix plant's open, American Asphalt, so the hot box is out every day now. And there was some restoration work that we had to take care of from winter, a few lawns that got scalped up here and there, different things like that. So right now, we're just trying to get all of that stuff done before the push comes on Chadwick Street and Colleen Street, actually going east from Mesker, which is north of the old, where the police department is. That's where the storm sewer install is gonna go. The guys are all potholing today, we have to establish exactly where the utilities are. That's a gas line there. TDS has got stuff to the south, so that's gonna be the first project typically of the year now, once we get some of this other stuff done. We're gonna be using Nioplast structures in there too, which is the same thing like they've got up in Luis's neighborhood. They're green catch basins. They're reasonably priced. We're gonna be using those. The lines are gonna be 12-inch HDPE corrugated culvert. That's what's gonna run through that piece there. So we're gonna be getting going on that. I don't, not this week at all. Hopefully, maybe next week we can get started on it. Depends on other things that we have to do. A culvert popped up over on Shepherd Lane, which is east of Alderson off of Park Ridge. There's a hole in the road all of a sudden, so we gotta replace that with driveway culvert, just that's the way things go. Got the gravel roads graded up and things. Some of the shoulders too in places. That's taken care of. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Grass cutting started today. They took this little lizard, as it's called, they're starting to whack down some of the on County Highway X out by Yeagers and that median, this stuff's getting pretty high. So our newest employee, Peter Bruzen, he's gonna be running that for now. He's cutting with the lizard, and the other guys are gonna be, we still gotta get caught up on our street sweeping. The sweeper's been out to hydro excavate for this stuff. We're using it for that, but we have sweeping left to get done. So basically for the next, I'd say week or plus, we'll be out patching and trying to get all that stuff done before we move into the construction stuff.
So that farmer market, you put the granite in there, that doesn't last long really, does it?
The where?
That farmer market?
The granite at the farmer's
It'll make it
market.
a year. The last year I put it in.
So is annual. Can we do something else?
Well, they rent us the property for $1. So I talked with Renee, it's probably the most forgiving thing you could put in there. That's really easy to maintain. You know, I mean, if you'd seed it, you could probably even get grass to grow in it. There's enough clay in that stuff, but it seems to work pretty good. And it doesn't take much to dress that up. You know, John Yonker, he does our signage for us, but he worked for one of the landscape companies for like 25 years. He gets in a skid steer and goes after something like that, it's done. So, yeah, it's pretty forgiving. And we've been, actually, I didn't have this in the report too much, but we've been helping the park staff out. Kennedy Park, they have the new playground equipment coming in Yellow Banks. So our guys are out there helping them remove the old stuff, taking some of the old sand out and doing that. They just don't have the staff. So we work together with them to get that done. So that's taken up a little bit of time too, but we work good together with them.
So where is this place, John Deere doing his testing?
Pardon?
Oh,
John Deere doing his testing?
Randy Bleach, I put these pictures in. He's been here 30+ years. He went down through John Deere. They take you down to Iowa. I think it's 2 or 3 different plants down there. City of Wausau had like 4 people they sent to that. I don't know if Marathon County did too, but it's more or less, you get to run some of the equipment. You learn some stuff off of it too. You know, I know he's been here 30 years, but it's kind of a feel-good thing too, I think, a little bit. But he was appreciative of being able to go down. So those are the pictures he took. And that it was like 3 days of stuff between traveling and then going and trying out all the different equipment. And I think John Deere actually uses some of their feedback too when it comes to the demonstrating part of it. Because some of them guys are pretty veteran operators, you know, and they'll take the feedback to see on design processes as far as the equipment, the likes and dislikes of them and that. So we've got all John Deere loaders here and 1 John Deere grader, so.
Okay. Question? Item 10, utility operation update.
Yeah, so up top, we had a handful of kind of our miscellaneous well maintenance type stuff that we kind of do on a monthly basis. Well, 7-8 stuff we kind of touched on. Hopefully we can get to substantial completion here shortly. Getting pretty bogged down with some of our large maintenance items for the year. We started our water main flushing. It's been going fairly well, not too many issues or complaints. I expected more since we haven't really done a true flushing in probably 2+ seasons. We've really just been able to kind of open some hydrants and move some water around, but we actually get our scour velocities going here. So it might take a little bit extra time to get to the NTUs. We're not getting quite as low as we always have in the past. I think we always went to like 0.5 NTUs. We're trying to get it at least below 1 NTU. I think some communities do a bucket test. If it looks clear, it's good, but we kind of go beyond that. So,
yeah, and I guess just we do have a link on our website. So if anyone's ever interested in seeing what's been done or what areas are coming next, the lines will change color. So a green line is the areas that have been flushed and are clean. And then the red is what hasn't been. And when the work's in progress or is coming up next, it's purple. So if I zoom in, oops, trying to look at one screen and zoom in on the other. So kind of a little north of Kennedy Park right now is kind of what would be slated to get started right away tomorrow morning. And that's where like our Bladel well is located in that area. So we try to go from a clean source of water to make sure then as we're pumping we flush the main, it's new water always coming in, it's not bringing back old water into the system, so the guys get out there, turn the valves and make sure we're directing the water in one direction, so. It's a little different than, like Josh said, just opening a couple hydrants and trying to move water around.
And it's not a perfect system. We get some calls, can you tell me when you're gonna be in my area? You guys didn't let me know you were here. We have signage out, but we only have a few signs and some people, I need to know when you're in front of my house. It's a little different when we have our kind of leaf pickup. It's kind of you kind of maybe understand how long it's gonna take, but some runs could take an hour. That same run, could take 2 days just to clean up sometimes. So, it's not perfect notification, but it's something that's out there. And, if people call, we can at least kind of give them a ballpark of when we anticipate being in there. But I think with some of our new additions to our system, we'll probably have to maybe take another stab at taking a look at some of our we term sequences that we set up with certain valves that we're always exercising every year to do this process. Open any suggestions too of how to make this work better so we can notify the public a little easier. We do, this is available, we post it on, the socials and stuff that they can access it, but we try to make sure the guys are aware that everybody kind of wants to know when they're gonna be in their area, so.
You put them in the newsletter, right?
It was in the newsletter and then we posted on Facebook and
You do a mailing.
and a mailing. Yep, yeah. Every year we do ahead of the start date. We'll always have to all of our customers, which again, that's not always a perfect way of delivery because, we send it to the person who pays the bill, but sometimes if apartment pays the water bill, it only goes to that owner and, it's up to them to kind of post it. So we're always looking for better ways to get it out there, but it's what we have in place right now. So.
I shared the kudos for my apartment complex. He scanned in the letter and he sent a very nice email and said
Yeah, we need more like him.
it'd be happening, so, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's some communities that just say, hey, we're flushing this area on Monday, May 13th. I guess. Again, we could go around, just open the hydrants and go, okay, we ran this one for 30 minutes, we're good, let's go to the next one, but if you're not actually cleaning the system, I guess we feel like the benefit is making sure we are staying until the water is clearing up and we're getting the pipes scoured and all the sedimentation and over the years taken care of, so. Eventually, hopefully, we will get to a point where we can reliably go, okay, this is where we're gonna be for this week. So.
So water main flush, yes, we're also working on our large meter testing, what's happening. Still continue to collect some PFAS samples for EPA. On the PFAS front, I'm hoping this week I have all the information input into our settlement claims for the 3M and DuPont claims. So hopefully that's submitted this week. Where then we can start collecting some of our costs that we've incurred up to this point for other future submittals as well. Sewer side, just a few miscellaneous lift station items. On top of our water main flushing, we're also doing our lift station cleaning, which hopefully we could wrap up here in the next week or so we can free up a couple guys. Last month, we also prepared locations for our Badger labs. We had some hits from the Rim Mountain Metropolitan Sewerage District about some high BOD and suspended solids. So we had got Badger Labs on board to pull some samples. So we could try to find some places that were exceeding our limits that we have in our sewer ordinance. I don't think it gave us the information we quite wanted. We were hoping to have some red flags from that, but I think we could digest it. I know there's a meeting tomorrow with Rim Mountain where we need to have some discussions of maybe how their billing maybe needs to be reviewed, I guess. I don't know if you want to speak more on that or.
Yeah, well, in item 13.
Okay. Oh, yes. Sorry, I was out Friday. I get to see the agenda. So Michael will speak more on that later. We did still collect and pH probe data, we out sewer jetted some of our problem spots. SCADA project should be pretty much wrapped. I think there's some restoration items that they were going to be getting to, last I read. And just kind of the monthly stuff with diggers locates, work orders. Some of our contract work are touched on with Michael's stuff. Our hydrant painting, I did get confirmation they have us on the schedule for June. I might push them till after the 4th when we can hopefully be done with our water main flushing, so there's no conflicts. We're also, as part of our directional flushing, we do our valve exercising that we have to hit a certain percentage of our system every year. We also had our summer help start today. Gage, one of our operators, Dave, his son is out helping us. He did last year with our hydrant maintenance, which is also part of a DNR compliance. We have to hit a maintenance of a certain number of hydrants every year. So Gage joined us this morning. After that is our customers added. We had to add our 2 new wells onto our water pumpage, which I need to make a better table here. It looks a little bit, I don't know, I don't like the look of it. So our water flow, our wastewater flows and lift station hours.
Question for Josh? No? All right, thank you. Policy discussion and recommendation, item 11, 2023 Water Utility Annual Report to the Public Service Commission. Rocco?
Yeah, I guess just kind of an update that the PSC report for the water utility was submitted on time per state requirements to the PSC. I guess the main kind of financial takeaway every year is what does the rate of return end up being calculated as? So for 2023, we were at 3.73%. The PSC usually sets a benchmark rate, which for 2023 was 6.5%. So we're a little under, but we did have that 8% rate increase in October of 2023. So I guess I anticipate our 2024 number should be a little closer to what the PSC recommended level is. If you have too many years below or even negative rate of return, the PSC will force you to have a full rate case study done and reset your utility rates. So it's kind of one of those things where even if we didn't want to raise our rates, they would make us. So it's the benefit of the simplified case is we've been able to make those smaller increases so that we don't get so far behind that all of a sudden we have a large step increase.
Anything else?
No, unless anybody has actual detailed questions of the report, that's just more of a FYI.
So there's no increase in our rate?
Not currently, no. We should be fine. You know,
For how long?
we'll see. So with our PFAS submittals to 3M DuPont, I mean, we should be seeing, I believe we calculated around $2 million coming back. Our direction as part of our well 4 and treatment plant safe drinking water loan, we can recoup costs that we've spent to date for PFAS treatment, or 50% of our costs that we've spent. So all of our costs for the temporary treatment, the modifications we've made already, our engineering costs with AECOM, our water model updates, we can recoup those costs, which is a couple $100,000 that we'd get back into our water utility fund balance. So I guess that's more of a Jessica question as far as our true financial projections, but I think if we're gonna have an increase again, it'd probably be another small one just to make sure we're keeping up with inflation and some of those smaller costs versus waiting and sitting on it. And that was kind of I know the goal of the committee of who was on the Public Works Committee last time we had a rate increase in 2018, the big full scale one, I think that ended up being about a 20% increase. And the goal was moving forward, we wanted to look at doing smaller increases so that it was more palatable.
Yeah, 20%, that's a lot.
Yeah, which I don't have it on here, but probably next month we'll be talking about our sanitary sewer rate. Cause that, we are running a deficit right now, with some of the increased costs that we're getting from the Remote Metro wastewater treatment plants.
Okay. Question for Michael? We have to acknowledge this report.
Move to acknowledge the 2023 Water Utility Annual Report submitted to the Public Service Commission.
There a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 12. Purchase of sewer vac truck, combination sewer cleaner. Who wants to make a motion on that?
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the purchase of the Vector combination sewer cleaner from McQueen Equipment for $466,724.96.
Give it a second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
All right.
Somebody gotta explain this.
Yeah, so we have our sewer vac truck that we use for cleaning lift stations and our sanitary sewer main. We clean roughly a third of the system. We're a little over 30 miles of main every year to make sure we're removing any debris, buildup, potential for backups, clogs in the system. We also use the truck for hydro excavating around gas lines and other tight locations.
Use it for hydro excavation.
In the wintertime, whenever there's a main break, we use it. When we have, I guess, some of our storm sewer projects, we'll use it in conjunction with the street sweeper. It's got more power than our street sweeper, so if we have to do larger areas, we use it instead of the street sweeper. The street sweeper is really just for potholing.
County
That
X
thing-
last year, we had it up there too.
That thing is about 74,000 pounds. That's a monster.
It is, yes.
Yeah, you go in the parking, you damage that parking.
Yeah. And we have one, our existing one's parked right here, so
Is that parking handling it?
Oh, yeah.
we've had a vac truck the entire time I've been here.
No heavier than a loaded quad axle truck. That's what they would scale out at 74,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a,
So how many hours being used every year? And how many hours we have on the vehicle?
I'd have to go look. I don't have that off the top of my head. I mean, starting essentially now through the end of summer, it's out, I'd say at least 4 out of 5 days of the week. You know, sewer cleaning is a pretty big task. Takes a while to get
Yeah.
through there.
I mean, if we had the staff, it'd be nice to have it out every single day doing sewer cleaning.
Well, I was interested to see how many hours we have on the vehicle before we change it. Yes,
The problem is once we kind of hit about that 7-year mark, I mean, so we're at about 5 or 6 years right now. We're probably about 9 months away from getting a chassis that we ordered previously. So we did order the chassis. The committee, the board did approve the purchase of a new chassis for the truck. So this is the actual sewer cleaning portion that we put on it. So we're not gonna have this unit probably until 2026. So just due to the lead time of these items, so I mean, 18 months from now, we'll have the truck. And at that point, I guess we're just trying to plan ahead because we don't want to be without. It is a vital portion of our system and what we do for responding to sewer issues. We get put on call, or we do work with our neighboring municipalities, like if our truck is down, we work with WASA to make sure if we need their help and vice versa. When their truck is down, we're there to help them with theirs, but it's not something where there's a general contractor that's always readily available, so.
well, we're just wondering, we keep track of the hours we put the vehicle to work, you know, how
Yeah.
many hours we had in there.
Yeah, I could check
I
the
would guess there's
dash.
an hour meter on that engine.
Yeah, there's an hour meter on it, like I said. Josh wanted to walk out there, we could quickly pull the hours off, but
Speaking of that, did we send our sweeper to Wausau last week sometime? Because I saw it on McIntosh.
He probably got an Elgin too, wishing, I don't think, we wouldn't have been up there last week. It was either sweeping or potholing, or depending if we had enough staff to run it, you know, But we were the city runs, they've got, well, the city's got 2 vectors like that. Sanitary's got 1, like we've got. Streets has got their own for storm sewer. And then Streets has, when I was there, they had 3 mechanicals and 2 air sweeps. So, and the county's got an Elgin, I think, like ours too. Schwartz they had, they might have went to an Elgin. The county owns a air sweep like we have to, because they sweep for the state roads probably more than anything. Business 51 down at Rothschild, they sweep that wherever needed.
So we clean up our storm system.
Yeah, we use it to jet our storm lines too.
Yeah,
So where everybody goes, it goes to the river, right? Can you clean it?
You suck out
Or you do suck it out?
you draw it back. You don't jet the water away from you. You actually pull the water towards you. Yeah, so we do use it for storm sewer cleaning, inlet cleaning as well.
Yeah, the storm sewer need the cleaning because everything on those curves go to the storm sewer.
Correct. Yeah, so unlike we've storm scepters in the village where we need to make sure we clean those, otherwise they build up with sediment and then they're no longer functioning too.
the difference between the Vector using that truck versus just our regular air sweep. The air sweep's only got X amount of trunk and it's on the back end. That thing's got the boom that'll boom out and they can get deeper than that. So if we manholes, we need that truck versus using the air sweep. I mean, they get by like the guys were out cleaning, sucking the sumps out on some of the storm sewer inlets in the curb line, the ones that were like on Weston Avenue. That was the goal this year because it was so, we didn't have the snow in February, March. So we were out with that doing stuff that we didn't normally want to get through when it's frozen. But when it gets anything deeper or bigger, then we typically ask the sanitary guys will come out and do it for us. You know, try to work.
And if you got a, like I said, water main break in the winter, it's pretty critical to have that so that you can actually get to it and.
Even on excess year, when the county repaved that, we had to work on those, raise the valves and stuff around there. You know, instead of chopping all that concrete out, we could just get it closer on it, suck it out and get her done.
Yeah.
So
Just a lot cleaner too.
Yeah,
it's got its place. It's a lot of money, but what do you do? Yeah,
All
that's.
right, other question? We got a motion on the floor. No other question? All in favor of purchasing that hydrovac, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it, thank you. Item 13. Sanitary sewer BOD and suspended salad investigation.
yeah, I guess I don't really have a motion on this. It's more or less just an update. Starting in kind of December, we were notified by Remote and Metro Sewerage District, the regional wastewater treatment plant that they were noticing higher biological oxygen demand, BOD, and suspended solid loadings or SS loadings from our sample stations. One is what's referred to as Hardee's station, where Hardee's used to be on Business 51. It's Clean Slate Coffee House now. Right in front of where Shopko was, now the VA. So we have a sample, that's one spot where our sewer system dumps into the Remote and Metro main, and the other one's right by Wasatile along the Cedar Creek there. So they refer to our stations as the Hardy Station and the Cedar Creek Station. So it's our 2 entry points into the Remote and Metro interceptor sewer. We kind of thought initially, let's, talking with the wastewater treatment plant, let's see what happens. It might just be a fluke sample. It seemed to keep going up in January, February. March, we saw exceptionally high readings, which I'll get to in a minute. So we did hire Badger Labs out of Stevens Point to go do some investigative sampling around the system itself to see if we could figure out where maybe a high loading user was dumping into the system. So a general residential area is about 200 to 400 milligrams per liter, which a lot of our sampling was in that 200 to 400 range. So it tells us that everything more or less was as expected. And then anything over 400 generally is kind of more manufacturing or some food waste restaurant type setting. So I highlighted the ones that were at 600 or above, which mainly were just here at our Cedar Creek station. And then on the Cedar Creek Interceptor line, just south of Weston Avenue. So we went upstream, so like number 7 here captures our business park. The readings there were, fairly low. They average just over 400 milligrams per liter. And everything in our Hardee's Interceptor line was under 400, so unfortunately, we didn't find the, 800 pound user, so, yep.
So when I read this, I sat back and I said, is this kind of like, and I'll just use you as an example. Everyone speeds down this road, now he goes out with a patrol car and suddenly no one's speeding anymore.
Yeah.
Is this kind of like, we sent out contacts and inquiries and, hey, we're trying to figure out what's going on, and somebody went, oh, I know what's going on.
We did contact a couple users who we kind of thought maybe were the higher loadings. And that could be.
Yeah, it just,
Yeah.
that's what this said to me. It said, if we put a police officer out on the road, and amazingly, nobody got a ticket because everybody stopped speeding.
Yeah, and honestly, we were gonna send out mass mailings to everybody, like make sure your grease traps are cleaned and all. And I was like, well, wait, let's do the sample event first, and then we can hit that out and hopefully target the area that is worse. But nothing came back. So it takes me back to our March readings where we were over 1,000, like 1,200.
Because a residential user can't be changing the numbers, right? It's gotta be
Yeah, it generally would be a manufacturer of something. I mean, we do, for some odd reason, one of our lift stations that historically has had a lot of grease buildup is in a primarily residential area. So I don't know if that's just a place where people are dumping a lot of cooking grease or, they're frying their hamburger and we got a bunch of people just pouring that down the drain, but again, that area didn't come up high either, so. But we did have a large March bill where our loadings ended up being about $81,000 higher than a normal bill. So a normal bill, we pay what, $120,000. So this was a very significant increase. So I'll be heading to Remote Metro's monthly meeting tomorrow to dispute our bill a little bit because we got charged for about 340,000 pounds of suspended solids. And in the month of March, the treatment plant itself only treated or removed 190,000 pounds. So we got billed for not quite twice as much, but a fair amount more than what their plant actually saw. And I don't believe that's correct. Statistically speaking, it's an outlier.
Yes, yeah.
So I've been in contact with the wastewater treatment plant director as well as the president of the commission, who is a Weston resident, I believe is our Weston representative on the board. So hopeful to get some of that back.
And then my other question was, if you're under, do they have like a minimum, like here's your bill, but if you're over, you pay more, or is it
So that's what.
or if you're under a threshold, can you pay less?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question that I'll be asking as well, because last month was the first month they actually had their packet of information available online. Had that packet not been online, I would have never known that they only treated 190,000 pounds. I would have assumed, okay, so they treated 450,000 and 340 came from us, cool. But so I have made some other requests that they publish that data. They show how much they're billing all the communities. They show what they're treating at the plant. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago and talked to a few people I know who work for other regional wastewater facilities, and that's generally how they operate. When they send their bills out, they make sure what they're billing for is what their plant handled for that month. Similar to us, when we bill based on the water people use, and we can compare that to the amount of water we pumped into our system. We can't bill people for, 500 gallons used if we've only pumped 200 gallons of water. Like 300 gallons didn't magically go through the system, so yes.
What's the max they can clean out a month?
I don't know. They never told us that they hit capacity or that that was the max, you know, they were 98% efficient with their removal, so I'm guessing they can handle more than what
I mean, the issue is kind of their sampling process, though. That can leave, they only sample like 3 days out of the
Correct.
month, and then that's
For all 30
extrapolated,
days.
that's
So
so.
my next question,
Yeah.
how often do they sample and like? I just, these are the other, my question was like, oh, Hardee's decides on Friday that every Friday we clean out our, you know, and that's the day they sample.
Yeah.
They do move the sampling kind of 3-day windows around, month to month, usually at times, but, you know, so our March, you know, we must have had 3 high days, and then that's now calculated over that whole month. So that's why they can have 190,000 pounds treated, but ours is taken, you know, every average throughout that whole month, so that's why we get 390 whatever, so. You know, their process is their process, but there needs to probably be some sort of checks and balances on the back end if they see something like this.
Did they say, did you ask them yet why they built that?
That's what they do. They took the 3-day average and multiplied it by our flows. They get daily flow rates, but the suspended solids, the BODs is just based on that 3-day average, so.
That's your bill.
Yeah, that's your bill. That's essentially what I got was, well, some months you win, some months you lose, and this is your bill. And so, you know, if it would have been slightly high, right, like $5,000 over an average bill, okay. But when it's, you know, almost twice your regular bill.
How often, and so they do it 3 times a month, do they send their sampling as it happens, or do they just wait until the following month to let you know?
Yeah, so the process of going through the BOD, you have to feed like a special organism in there, and then they figure out how much the organisms have multiplied, how much the organic matter is there. So I mean, those tests take a few days to go. So I mean, again, by the time they tell us something happened, it was, you know, a week and a half prior, so you know.
But are they sending them as a?
We get it as, but it's generally about the, you know, the last week of the month or the first week of the month. So. I mean, if they notice something, they'll let us know, but it's not like, hey, I pulled the sample and today you're high, you need to do something, or you should check your system. And again, right, it's like the resident calling in saying, guys sped past my house. Okay, well, what was he driving? I don't know, it was a truck. Okay.
Seeing as you caught this overbilling on this cycle, are you able to request previous records, take a look?
That'll be part of my ask is, you know, can we see the historic readings on this?
I'm curious how often that problem happens.
Yeah, like I said, I mean.
Like you said, cause if it's just within a certain percentage, wouldn't think much of it, but double.
Yeah, and that's really what was kind of the big outlier for this one is, it caught our eye pretty quickly. We do keep track of, trying to pull up a spreadsheet here. Where are we at? So generally speaking, our BOD, or our suspended solids is, you know, around 130 to 150 pounds. So when all of a sudden you see a number of 340, and you're like, wow, that's more than twice what we normally see. That's a pretty big number. So that was really the big kicker of, I think something went wrong here.
You think you'll have this information by next month?
I hope to have some kind of update on that, but yeah.
We don't have to take any action.
So is your gut feeling that the error is on their side, or is it your gut feeling that somebody was dumping a lot of stuff in and changed their ways? Or some combination of both?
My gut feeling is, yeah, that day when or those 2 days when they sampled, something was dumped into the system. There was a high, we unfortunately caught that high max day dumping. But I don't think that's then correct to use that extreme maximum to create your whole month.
It's not representative.
It's not a representative sample of the whole month, like. Again, had the plant said they treated, more than 340,000 pounds of, they had to remove more than 340,000 pounds. Then I'd say, okay, that's, maybe we do have somebody in our system that did something they shouldn't for the whole month, but. I guess I'd be agreeable to saying we'll pay 190,000 pounds worth. And we'll be 100% of, and say Rothschild and Cronin-Wetter, Mosinee, Rim Mountain. They contribute 0 suspended solids to your system, which it isn't accurate either.
Right.
I mean, we're still then a lot closer to probably where we should be than paying for that sample for the whole month. So.
And are we paying it and requesting a refund, or are we just?
We did pay the bill just so that I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have paid the bill, but
They could also credit it, but at this moment, that's their practice. Their board has to want to change the practice too.
yeah,
All right, I don't think we have to take any action on this item either, so,
no.
all right. Other question?
I think we need to come up with a new name, at Hardee's, something more representative of the current times.
Yeah,
What is it?
well, like I said, it's
Something?
Clean Slate is the coffee house right there.
Which is an interesting for the waste.
Yes.
It's a- Yeah,
Maybe that would be a good sign. We call it the clean slate.
Clean
system.
Slate Station, yeah.
All
Pretty
right.
soon, no one's gonna remember that Hardee's was ever there.
Item 14. Discussion on private well program and non-compliance wells.
Yeah, so,
You have to take action on this?
no, well,
Okay, go ahead.
I guess, yeah, so as part of our sanitary survey for the water utility, one item that was kind of flagged as needing improvement was our private wells, which are I guess drilled wells that people have on their property who are also connected to our municipal water system. So we have about 320 of these wells throughout the system. And at the time of the sanitary survey, we reported that 75 were out of compliance or overdue for a permit. I guess some of those were, I wanna say it was about 20 of them were ones that had 2023 as their expiration year, so. Some of those are still in the works or pending approval where they have abandoned, or we're just waiting on the documents from the DNR for their well certification. So it's maybe not as, what do I call it, as daunting as 75 wells that are non-compliant. It's probably more in the 30 range. I guess the main ones for me are probably these ones down here that we're due for permits probably 2020 and earlier that we don't have on file. And making sure those wells are either brought into compliance or if they have been abandoned. We have the documentation for them. I know that happens. People abandon their wells and they don't realize they actually have to provide us with the documentation that they abandoned their well. So.
Or if you're the city of Weston, you have to provide it twice because they lose it the first time.
Right. A lot of this stuff you can pull right off the DNR website.
I know, because I have to do it.
All right. So I guess Will Harrison, again, he besides the excavation permits and our GIS, he also handles our private well program and re-permitting them throughout the system.
Well, can you hold the permit, not give him the permit and tell him, I'll give you 30 days to fix it, or then that mean you have to abandon the well?
So that's kind of the general, yeah, we don't have a real big hammer, I guess, or stick.
Reading it right now, that's all that they do.
Yeah, so we do have the ability to start issuing $500 fines if we want to take them to court. So I guess the question is, I guess my thought is this summer, these ones that are more than a year out of compliance, we really kind of pester to a certain extent and tell them you need to do this, or Or should we just start to,
Disagree entirely.
okay,
No, I would, if it was me, I would send out a letter and say, you have 90 days to come into compliance, or you'll be fined $500. I send it to everyone who's out of compliance,
sure,
and at the end of 90 days, I would fine them.
alright,
And,
This fine is in our ordinance,
correct, yeah, so I did it too.
$500.
and again, that's just my opinion, but when I read this, I said, that you'll be calling and bugging and prodding and they're already telling you they're not gonna do this, or they would have done it,
Yeah,
right?
correct, yeah,
And obviously, when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time.
yeah,
Would you like to put that one in the motion?
Yeah, I would, make a motion to, give everyone 90 days to come into compliance, which I think is a reasonable amount of time. And at the end of 90 days, you issue the $500 fines and then pursue collections and add it to their tax bill. And eventually you will get paid.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? So that goes to everybody, no exception.
yep. Yeah, whoever's non-compliant there, we will.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Oh, I have it, thank you. Item 15. Josh, you're not gonna be late, you can go if you want to.
Got a little time.
Okay. A special assessment report amendment and authorizing resolution for East Challenger Avenue and 1 Canada Street reconstruction project.
Yeah, so this one's for the East Jelnik Von Kennel. I guess as we talked about at the public hearing, our after bid numbers did come in less than estimated, so I guess I figured I'd amend the report with the after bid numbers, as it was, I believe, about a $2,000 difference for water and sewer connection. And then the driveways came in less. There was the question about utilizing actual frontage of the utilities versus the 200-foot average.
Excuse me, Michael. Yeah. Where does that 200 feet come from?
That was what we kind of just agreed upon with the Apache Lane project, the Birch Street, Weston Avenue. As we started looking at how do we assess these connections, right? And we were only assessing current connections, but wanted to leave room in there if somebody starts subdividing their property. So if we've got a farm that's one house on a 40-acre parcel, you know, we weren't gonna assess them for 1,300 linear feet of frontage. We were just, so we came up with the connection fee, which we used roughly the 200-foot average, which was the width of a kind of a rural residential lot. So I guess my only hesitancy to say we're gonna go to actual footage is there's parcels on Weston Avenue that are 150 feet. So do we go back to them and say, hey, guess what? Now you're getting billed for 150 feet, but we go. Then how do we go to we'd almost have to reverse that then for the larger frontage people too and say, now you're at 250 feet, so you're getting billed for an extra 50 feet.
Well, you discriminate those guys and you favor the people have a larger than 200 feet. Unless you just don't call them 200 feet, just call them connection fee.
And that's what they are, they're connection fees.
Then forget the footage,
Okay.
because the gentleman was sitting in there, he said, I have 156 feet.
Mhm.
And why should I pay 200? Oh, I agree with him, why should he pay 200?
Yeah, so really
If you're calling it connection fee, then you don't have to call it 200, forget it, these are all out of picture.
yeah, I guess that was just my,
I agree with you, Shane, because I said to myself, you're gonna suck up a lot of staff time then, because someone will say, oh, it's 156, but you measured it at 146, now you gotta send somebody back out to read.
yes.
And take the phone call, and.
Yeah, so in general, I guess how I should have explained it is, we take the area that's to be assessed. I divide it by essentially 200 feet. I see how many potential connections there are. And, you know, so this house had, I think it was 150, was it 156, 165? I transpose those numbers in my head, but across the street was the mobile home park. They're already connected internally. The house next to him is a corner lot that gets served off of Tower Ridge. I mean, in essence, his entire frontage, that sewer line is only serving him. I mean, it could potentially serve one of the other lots if they were ever to divide or something were to happen there. So I guess I should just disregard the 200-foot. They are listed as connection fees. That's just the method that was used to figure out how many connections there are.
So the other question I have, is it in the ordinance? Is
Yeah.
someplace that you have to do this?
In our special assessment ordinance for water and sewer, we have the ability to either use a per lot or connection fee or a linear foot fee.
Okay, then you're gonna let that gentleman know for sure.
Yep.
We are not charging you based on the footage, we're charging you based on the connection fee, and that is for everybody.
Yeah.
That I can live with it.
Okay.
But if you come and tell me, pay me 200 feet and I have 156 feet, I can guarantee you I will take you to the court.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're gonna lose.
Yep. Yeah, so the 200-foot was kind of to determine how many other potential connections there are there.
I agree with you, Shane, on the connection, calling it.
Yep.
It's a smart decision.
Okay, and then the other part was that one, the gravel driveways, some of them are gravel, but then where the multi-use path hit them, it ended up being changed to an asphalt driveway, so we would bill them for what's there because we are, if you're on the other side of the road and you have a gravel driveway, we're only billing you for the gravel driveway. We're not billing you for an asphalt approach. So to be fair,
Yeah.
I think it should be consistent on that side. Whereas in Luis's neighborhood, everybody got a concrete drive because the sidewalk was supposed to be going in, but on both sides of the road. So everybody got a concrete one.
So in here, you have a write-up. Somebody like to make a motion on this, please?
Sure. I'll move to recommend the village board approve the authorizing resolution for special assessments for drive approach, sanitary sewer main and laterals and water main and lateral construction through the East General Electronic and Bond Panel Reconstruction Project. With the condition that it is on a per connection basis rather than per foot.
Yep, yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 16. A special assessment report amendment and authorizing resolution for Weston Avenue from Canal to Ryan Street construction project.
And is the recommendation we put this on pause?
We could, like I said, there's no real urgency per se on this one, because I mean, there is some water and sewer work that would start potentially later this summer, early fall, for the cross-country route, but
And I'm just echoing what was in the, when I
Yeah.
read it.
and that's kind of my thought with the potential, or I shouldn't, with the redesign coming, the actual report that would go out would match the redesign versus me trying to guess what it looks like, so.
Right, yeah, I think, because as you said earlier, they haven't even started on the redesign yet, so how can you don't have any information? No.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of use what the driveway widths would be in an assumed right-of-way area and go from there, but I guess when we can, I try to use the design drawings, just so we're not telling somebody your driveway's gonna cost you $1,000 and it comes back at, $1,500 because it's 10 feet wider, or something like that.
Especially you're prone to give up bad information,
Correct, yes.
which makes you,
Which was hard at the meeting when all of a sudden you're talking about removing the path and like, well, I've been to every meeting, why are you telling me this? I first got the bad news like 2 days prior, people.
Okay,
We want to bring it back at a.
Yeah, so I'd probably just bring this one back as we discuss the rest of the,
do you need a resolution to delay it till next month or not? Are we good?
I think we're fine just as it.
let's bring it back, huh?
Yep.
All right. Then we go to item 17. Weston Avenue Construction Service Contract Amendment for County Trunk X to Ryan Street. accept the motion.
I move to recommend the village board approve the engineering services agreement with AECom for construction-related services for the Weston Avenue reconstruction project from County Highway X to Ryan Street for a price not to exceed $517,085.12.
Get a second
I'll second.
discussion?
My only comment was that 80,000 was a pretty round number.
Well, you may get something back because I went through calculation, I did look at the contractor hours. First of all, the contractor saying he's gonna work 7 days a week is not. He's gonna work 6 days a week because nobody work on Sunday. And then his total hours come up to 2,820 hours. So he works 6 days, 10 hours a day. Become total hours to 2,820 hours. And the engineering time is 4,176 hours. He has 2 inspectors on the project. One inspector worked 2,000 some hours, the other one worked 1,600 hours to make up that 4,176 hours. So I think the contractor just put his schedule together. He doesn't think we look at it. 7 days a week.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So,
He work from 7/1 to end of the year. He take off 3 months, then he come back, work another 6 months or 5.5 months, finish the project in 2025. Anyway,
yeah,
you had the second, right? You did the second?
I had a second.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Tom, yeah. Any discussion?
So do we want to challenge it more?
Well, Michael said that if there's extra money, they're gonna send it back to us, because last year they spent $80,000 back to us.
I guess this is a,
change order?
yeah, so this is a budget cost. It's not a lump sum, you know, we don't write them a check for the 500 some odd $1,000 and say, here you go inspect the project. We get a monthly invoice that says, so if the inspector works 10 hours a week and the other one works 40, we get billed for, 10 and 40, not 30 and 50. They do it to show, how do I put it there? Essentially, it's there to reserve the time. So if we need them, it's there. If we go and say, we want you to cut your hours, and all of a sudden there's a need for more time, they may have, their office may have that person allocated to a different project then for that day or for that week. So,
Contractor may have different crews. They can
Yeah.
have 2 crews, 3 crews, depending on weather and if they get behind, so.
yeah, I mean, it's a guesstimate, right? It's an educated guess on how much time they're gonna need, but it's not a hard set number, if the hours come in under, we pay less. We don't just pay them the full estimated number.
In my opinion, no matter how you do it, he has to correlate his hours with the contractor. Because they work hand to hand, that's all it is to it, so.
Yep. Yeah,
It
and
doesn't go there, if the contractor doesn't work, there's no need for inspector to be out there.
yeah, and I question that at times too, where we'll get bills in, say, November and the contractor stopped working in October. And it's like, well, we're working on as-built or construction records, getting reports together. I said, okay, well, hand me those reports then. So I think for the most part, people understand that it's not just free money for them to have.
Yeah, that construction, the documentation, I mean, the record should be the day they start the construction.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 18. Opted an additional street maintenance item for 2024.
Yeah, so if you remember back to last month, our asphalt overlays in particular came in well under budget, so The village board did authorize staff to move forward with adding additional areas to utilize the full street maintenance budget for 2024. So kind of looking at what was somewhat readily available and kind of in most need of repair. We did add in some asphalt overlays on in the Mallard Court neighborhood, which is off of Alderson Street, around the far northwest portion of the village. And then we'll also be doing some concrete repairs around the roundabout. So those bids are out right now and we'll be opening Wednesday. But so we'll replace a lot of the curb and gutter, the failed inlets around that raw sandy roundabout. A lot of that has become a pretty big plow hazard.
I'll move to
We
acknowledge.
just have to acknowledge this.
Second.
We have to acknowledge.
Yeah, I was just gonna move to acknowledge the additional street maintenance items for 2024.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Future item, next meeting dates, Monday, June 10th, 2024, 4:30 PM, regular meeting. Monday, July 8th, 2024, at 4:30 PM, regular meeting again. Item 20, future topic for a meeting. We just have that,
The Weston Ave assessment.
correct. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I know trustee Cronin maybe wanted to add an item for a future meeting. Did you want to add possible conversation about repairs on Schofield Avenue between Birch and Camp Phillips?
I would, but does that have to be a full board decision or refer that to the committee or no?
No, I think the committee, if they wanted to discuss it, could discuss it. And if they made a recommendation, that would have to go to board, but.
so,
I guess I had a conversation with a few people who thought that we were gonna rebuild Schofield Ave to Birch Street. Why not take it a step further and go all the way to Camp Phillips with it? And rebuild that whole corridor? But I don't know if that's something that we could.
well, they should come out with a budget and also that be a separate project, because that project is already bid.
It would, but there, because it's within a half mile of the TID, we still could potentially use TIF $2 for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'll have to look after our last amendment. I know we got pretty specific on the project that could be done.
You can't add that, that's the significant amount cost on that project, and usually, even if there's a change order, it can't be more than 10 or 15% of project costs.
So he's talking TIF plan, you're talking construction project, so they're.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to add it to the existing, but talk about whether or not we'd want to add it as a project.
Well, they should come back to us and give a report on that section of the project and see what are the needs for it. Then we can make a decision. Even they bring it to the board, we have to have some documentation, what's going on in there. And why should we do it, why shouldn't we do it, whatever.
Correct, I agree.
So can you do that, Michael, please?
Yep.
Actually, bring it here.
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
I'll work on that for next month.
All right, that'll be on the agenda. Yes, sir.
The village of Rothschild built a beautiful walkway behind the old shop, which is now the VA clinic.
Yep.
Up to Oakland.
Mhm.
It's very dark in that area. It's an S-curve walkway back there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, and I don't know, just asking, was there plans by the village of Rothschild to put some lighting back there? The back end of the Shopko now VA clinic has a little bit of lighting, but it's inadequate in my opinion. I'm wondering if they were gonna plan on putting a street light or a couple of street lights back there for that walkway. That now snakes around the back of that and comes out on Business 51 by 4 lanes.
Yeah,
Is that part of the village of Weston or Rothschild?
that's a Rothschild project. I would have
Only
to,
thing we can do, we can ask them. Just send them a letter and ask them if they
It would
can
be
do
nice
that.
to just reach out to them, I think, and just inquire
sure.
as to what their lighting plan was for that, because
Be happy to.
I wouldn't want my daughter walking down that walkway at night.
Sure. All right.
Myself, I can ask that of them, I can do that one.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
So you're gonna work on that?
We can, yes, we can ask Rothschild what they have in the
Okay.
works there, if anything.
Item 21, remark from the staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing.
None?
I talked enough.
Remark from committee members. Anybody?
First, I just wanted to say whoever's doing all the social media stuff, doing a great job getting a lot of information out, and I think that's really helpful in communicating out to everybody. Second, and I meant to bring this up during Capitol, so as part of the East Jelinek project, do you know if that's gonna be segmented as far as like they're gonna do the west half and the east half separately, or if that's all gonna be done at once?
My guess is, the pipe work is all west of Von Kennel. So I would guess, you know, generally speaking, you do the pipe work and then you come back and you build the road in. So I would assume, we'll have a pre-construction meeting coming up here with the contractor, but I would assume they'd go X to Von Kennel and not disturb the rest and then kind of get that tidied up and then worry about the rest of the project, so.
Shouldn't you give us the traffic plan?
Yeah, I mean, so that's all part of the pre-construction.
That traffic plan should explain how it's gonna do it.
You know, the only reason I ask is the owner of Wish was kind of wondering how this might impact their business as far as customers getting there.
Sure.
And coming in the back way down Prairie and West Fair, it's almost a worse road to send people
Yeah.
down. Cause that road's really chewed up, so I know they're just trying to understand how this could impact business and communicating to their customers, which
Sure.
way to come from and everything.
Yeah, and once we get better schedule and setup from the contractor, we can definitely share that with everybody.
They have to submit a traffic control plan to in phase line.
Correct,
right?
yeah.
So whenever they submit that, which might just.
Thank you, that's all I got.
Anybody else? No? 23 announcement, I don't have any. Except the motion to adjourn.
You can do adjourn.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you very much for coming to the meeting.